Hari Om, everybody. We are on the final portion of the chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. And it started off with a question by Arjun. He wanted to know the characteristics of a Sthita Prajna. Who is Sthita Prajna? Is a man of realization. So he wants to know how the person, what is his idea of Samadhi? How does he come out of Samadhi? How does he then talk? How does he behave with the people, etc., etc.? How does he sit? Kim Prabhaseta, Kim Asita Vrajeta Kim. So how does he talk? How does he sit? And then how does he move about? So Bhagavan answered the first question, what is the meaning of Samadhi? The meaning of Samadhi for a man of realization is not to sit in a secluded place and be in Samadhi all the time, but no, move about in this same world where we are moving about, but with absolutely no desires. If at all a man of realization has any kind of desire, it will only be for Loka Sangraha, like Bhagavan himself will use this word later on, for the good of the people, for the benefit of the people, for the benefit of the totality. It would never be a desire for his own ego, and it won't be an egocentric desire. So that sort of a desire might arise in his mind, but he's not going to hanker after it. He's not going to worry about it. Oh, is this going to, what will be the result? He's not going to have any kind of agitation in that. The desire might arise and he may pursue it, but without any sort of agitation. And absolutely, it will not be for his personal gain. So that is how he moves about. And that is what Samadhi, the intellect. Samadhi word is Samadhi. Equanimous intellect, that is what it actually means. So either the intellect remains equanimous when you're sitting at one place, but that is even easy for us. We can be alone at home and then we are at peace. But are you at peace when you're interacting with people, when you're moving around in the world? That becomes more important. We are not. When we come across dukkha, that's what he says. If we get sorrow, if I'm alone and nothing is happening, okay, I'm at peace. But the minute any kind of sorrow comes, I get agitated. He doesn't. That is the difference. That's why his intellect is sama. Okay, then joy comes. Does he crave for it? No, he doesn't. We would. And that's the difference. So he does move around in the world, but he's not agitated. So there is equanimity with respect to, there are no desires, so there is equanimity in that sense. Then there is equanimity when there is sorrow and joy, and then he moves around in this world without any raga, without any attachment. And because there is no attachment to anything, there can never be any fear, there can never be any anger. So Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha is only Vita Raga. Attachment, if we take care of, we don't have to worry about fear and anger. And such a person who is Sthita Dihi, again, Sthita Dihi Munihi Uchate. This is what the last word is in 56. One who is stable in these situations, sorrow, joy, and moving around without attachment, he is a Sthita Prajna. This is what Bhagavan is answering. And then the next one we saw is equanimous with regards to auspicious and inauspicious situations. So there can be favorable and unfavorable situations. And does he, in favorable situations, say, oh, how blessed I am, like we would say, oh, so lucky, I had, there was no line up at the customs or whatever, I'm so lucky. He doesn't say that. Doesn't say that, because when I say I'm so lucky this thing happened to me, it's coming out of ego. It's coming out of ego. That has to be remembered. So he doesn't say I'm blessed, this good thing happened to me, and then on the other side, oh, what luck, bad luck. He doesn't say that either. We say both. But he doesn't, and that shows his equanimity. This is all about equanimity, how equanimous he is, his intellect is. That's why Sthita Prajna, that's the importance of that word. Nabhinandati na deshti. So when good comes, it's like, oh, jump around, no. And hates when unfavorable situation, because I told you, he is in the same world as we are. He has also come with a prarabdha of 50% papa, 50% punya. Why? Because he has taken birth. So it's not like the same situations never arise to all of us. But what is common in all the situations that come to all of us is there is some sorrow and some joy. Now that sorrow may be because of different reasons, joy may be because of different reasons. That is not the point. So joy and sorrows are coming to all of us, including him. What is his response? How should be our response? That is what we have to see. So that's why we should know his response and correct our response as per his. And in the beginning, this has to be done forcefully. An ignorant person doesn't even know this. As seekers, now we are aware of it. So in the beginning, we may have to force ourselves or remind ourselves of the teaching. And slowly, as we advance in our spiritual studies, this becomes very natural. It becomes natural. It will come naturally to you. That doesn't mean we are realized or anything, but at least start imitating him, a man of realization. And yeah, so we had completed up to there. And now the next question Bhagwan is coming to, he says, Kim Asita, how does he sit? So it's not whether he's sitting in Padmasana or some asana, yoga asana. So from 58 to 61, these 58, 54 verses, Bhagwan is going to explain how he sits. Okay. Yada samharate chayam kurmonganiva sarvashaha indriyanindriyartebhyah tasya prajna pratisthita. When like the tortoise, which withdraws on all sides its limbs, he withdraws his senses from the sense objects, then his wisdom becomes steady. Okay, so the tortoise has been given as an example. If you see at the temples, there is a tortoise at the entrance of the temple, if you notice. In Sandipani, in our Jagdishwara temple, the tortoise is there on the pillar or somewhere is there before the entrance. And the importance of the tortoise and why the tortoise is over there, the tortoise is such an animal. As you know, it has a very thick shell and then it has its 4 limbs. So at the sign of any kind of danger, it doesn't want to get into any conflicts. Tortoise is that sort of an animal who doesn't want to get into any kind of conflicts or fight. So at the sign of any kind of dangerous situation or where he thinks there might be a conflict, he will withdraw his limbs immediately and he will go and sit. He'll be completely under that shell, and the shell is very strong. So he doesn't want to get into any kind of fight with anybody. That is how the tortoise is. Now the tortoise withdraws his limbs out of fear, out of when there is danger. That's how the tortoise does it. Bhagwan is comparing a man of realization to the tortoise, but what is different? The man of realization also, Bhagwan says, like the tortoise, he will withdraw all his senses, because our senses are what are going out, and they are the ones that are bringing in all the temptations into our mind. Oh, I see this, I want this, I hear that, I want that. So this is what is coming in. The sense objects are coming in through the senses. When like the limbs of the tortoise, the man of realization will withdraw, not out of fear. That part has to be understood. Not that he's afraid of the sense objects, but he has a higher goal which he has achieved for us, which we have to achieve. So for that higher goal, knowing that I want something more than these objects, I want that happiness which these objects do not have, which these objects can never give me, he withdraws, consciously he withdraws. And in that withdrawal, there is no pain. See, there is a difference. Now we can withdraw if I'm sick. I've got a stomach upset. Okay, now lovely meal is there, but I'm too scared because I've got a stomach. So I can withdraw my senses because of that. Okay, I can withdraw out of poverty. There is something nice restaurant, but you know what? The prices are too high. I can't afford, so I withdraw. That also can be a reason for withdrawal. So there can be various reasons. And what will happen is if that sort of a withdrawal is there, that withdrawal will go away. The minute my stomach is good, I will start feasting on things. Or maybe there may be a time when I can afford that restaurant, or I can afford that whatever object that I want. I can save up money for that, and then that withdrawal will go away. So if it is a withdrawal because of some reason, then it is going to go. When that reason goes away, that withdrawal will go away. Whereas the man of realization, he is withdrawn not because of any kind of reason. That's why we have also told you that vairagya is, I don't like something and now I'm very dispassionate. That is not vairagya. Vairagya is not liking. You have to be liking the object. You have to be able to afford the object. That object has to be available to you, and yet you have to be able to withdraw from it. If it is not, oh, I'm very this thing, like now nobody's traveling. Of course, travel has started, but oh, very dispassionate. Who wants to see the pyramids? You can't go there. There is political unrest. That is not vairagya. That is not. You have to have the capacity to go. You have to have the physical capacity to go. You have to have the monetary capacity to go, financial capacity. All situations should be favorable for you to do it, and yet you should not. And there should be no pain in that. Okay, so everything might be favorable, but yet you don't do. But I should have gone. I should have done it. That is not vairagya either. So vairagya has to give you peace of mind. And when everything is available, so this man of realization, he withdraws not because of any reason. He just withdraws. He knows that there is nothing, there is no essence in the sense objects. There's not, they're not of any essence. And as a seeker, I want that something higher. Because of that, I withdraw. Like an Olympic athlete, which I always give you the example, the one whose eyes are on the gold medal will withdraw from everything else in the world for that period at least. See, even the Olympic athlete, for that, once he wins the gold medal, he or she, then he might again indulge. But at least for that period. And that's why the example we give. But for us, and for the man of realization, the word sarva shaha is used. This sarva shaha word is space-time object. Sarva shaha means at all times, in all places, and for all objects. That's the importance of that sarva shaha. Sarva is from all sides. So sides can be, oh, but today I don't, okay, I can withdraw today, but tomorrow I don't know what will happen to me. Or yesterday I was not withdrawn. Now, I feel guilty. Oh, geez, I should have. And today I do. That is not allowed. Then space. Generally, when we go on a holiday, okay, come on, now I'm on a holiday, can't I even eat in a holiday? I do that. I'll be honest with you. I'm like, oh God, man, I'm traveling now. I go to New York, I have to have a New York cheesecake, right? Like, which I won't have in Vancouver, but I will. So that is not allowed for this. For us as seekers, I have also given you the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, we must be following this as seekers. 20%, because our mind is not that established, the intellect is not as established in there, we must allow the mind some leeway. Some rope has to be given. Otherwise, the mind will revolt. But sarva shaha, so, and with respect to all objects. So you cannot, not like one object I don't, and then the others. So this way, the one whose senses are withdrawn from all sides with respect to time, space, and objects, Bhagwan considers him as the one whose intellect is very steady in the self. If we want that goal, then we need to practice this withdrawal of the senses. Not at the time of danger alone, at the time of danger, of course, but at all times. If we keep practicing at all times, then it'll help getting steady in the self. And the reason alone, only one reason, that I want something higher. That should be the reason, not any other reason. So this is how, but he has asked, how does he sit? So he sits in the world with his senses completely withdrawn within himself. Okay. Now, Okay, so how do I, if you want to go a little bit further in this verse I've explained, but say we want to say that how do I do this? How do I do this? So the first thing that one way of doing it is to devalue the world. See, our senses will always go towards that which I value. I have put a value on my grandchild, so of course my mind goes towards that grandchild, right? There's value there. I put value on money. If I have put value on travel, if I have put value on anything, on food, a particular kind of food, particular kind of clothes, the more value I give, the more my senses will be going towards that. So the first thing is to devalue the world. World, when I say world, objects. First is objects, and then coming closer, the body. Devalue the objects and devalue the senses, because the senses are going to lead you astray. So suppose when the eyes say, I want to see this movie, who cares? You want to see the movie? No. Control. That's the reins being in the hands of the charioteer. So when the horses, which represent the senses, want to go, devalue them. Don't give them that much importance. Oh, this music I love and I want to hear. Okay. So first there's a devaluation of the world. Anytime there's a discount, we are like, oh, get one free. Then our eyes shine and we're like, oh, okay, let me buy these two, kind of thing. So the world has to be discounted, and discounted how much? To 0%. No value. This has got no value. And that can be done when you put your value on something higher. Only that it'll help. That's why Gurudev has given attach and then detach. He didn't say detach first and then attach. He didn't say that. He said attach. And what is that attachment to? Where will I put my value is on the self. When I put my value on the self, because I want to be like a man of realization, I will slowly start devaluing the other things. And first the world, and then as I progress in my studies, I come to the firm conclusion that this body is also world, which so far I never thought. I thought this is me and the world is all around me. But what has to be understood is the body. And what we mean by body is the senses. Because the body, only the 5 senses are getting in the perceptions. So devaluation is very, very important. And devaluation out of understanding. And that is the main purpose that Bhagavan will explain the world in chapter 15. To get vairagya. Why is the world being explained so? Is the not self. We saw in Vivek Churamani also. See, for how many verses Bhagavan has given describing the not self. Body, how much he described, senses, how much, this kosha, that kosha. It's not like for us to get attached to those, to get detached. That is why more and more information is being given. Understand what the body is. How can you be the body? So that way, understand what the world is and then give up. Out of understanding, that's why we say Viveka first, Vairagya next. So once you have that discrimination that this world cannot give me the thing that I'm looking for, you will automatically devalue it. Otherwise, you will not devalue it. You will not. Okay, so that is the thing. Do not give importance to the senses. So devaluation of the world, then devaluation of the senses. All right. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinah rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. The objects of the senses turn away from the abstinent man, leaving the longing behind. But his longing also turns away on seeing the Supreme. So there is a beautiful story here. Which I think I've told, but I'm sure there are some people who have not heard. There was a man who went to his guru and said, Guru, I've got a lot of work, I need help. I need a servant who can do all this work for me. There's too much work I've got. So the guru said, yes, sure, I will give you a servant. I'll give you a genie. But one thing about that genie you must remember is that you have to keep him occupied constantly. And if there is even a minute free where you have no work, he will eat you. And the man said, I have so much work that there's no way that it's going to finish because I've got too many jobs to be complete. Okay, fine. So the genie comes along with the person, and the person gives him a list. And it's a genie. So he's not an ordinary servant. He just completes it in a few hours and comes back. He says, give me work. So, okay, then there was some little bit more work. So fine. But then all of a sudden, this man finds that in a couple of days, the work is finished. All the work that he had, the genie has done. And the genie is now standing there saying, now I have to eat you because you have no work for me. So the man starts running and he runs back to the guru. And he says, oh, Guru, now help me. I didn't realize that this guy would do all my work so quickly. I thought I have so much work that he would be busy for a lifetime, but he's not. So then the Guru says, now go ask him to construct a pole in your backyard and go tell him to go up and down the pole until you find some work for him. When you find that work for him, call him from the pole, give him the work, get him to do it, and then his next job is to keep going up and down the pole. That's the only way you can escape death. Otherwise, he's going to eat you. So he comes back, he tells the genie, oh, I want a pole constructed in my backyard. He constructs the pole. He says, okay, you have to keep going up and down. And I will call you when I need you. Now, might feel like a silly story, but the genie is our mind. Empty mind is devil's workshop. It's going to eat you. Not physically eat you, the mind can't, but it will consume you with desires. And those desires will make you act and act and act. And you will get tired, but the desires will never get over. Never get over. So the mind, the pole is the name of the Lord. And the genie, which is the mind is told, you keep taking the name of the Lord. You want to keep busy. You're restless, right? That restlessness to reduce is to be done by japa. Japa reduces restlessness of mind. Repetition of the name of the Lord, or a mantra, or even just the name of the Lord is fine. That is the purpose of japa. So that pole represents japa. Okay, now here, coming back to our verse, Vishayaha vinivartante. Vishayaha has two meanings. One is sense objects, but Vishayaha is also sense organs. So this Vishayaha vinivartante, Visheshena nivartante means withdrawn, the Vishayas. So either the objects or the senses, they've withdrawn. Now, two things might happen. The senses can withdraw. And again, the reason could be that I want something higher. Senses saying we want something higher, we need to go inwards. So they can withdraw, or the objects can withdraw if you have devalued them. So both type of withdrawals are possible. It's up to us what resonates with us, what we want to do. Either you devalue the object, that object will withdraw. See, the object is inert. Object is not coming and telling me, please bring me to your home. I want to stay in your home and I love you. Nothing the object is saying. We are only saying everything. I think my house will be more decorated with this object. I think there will be more value, in my this thing. Nothing like that. So either, that's why Vishaya Vinivartante is either the objects withdraw, and they will withdraw if you have devalued them. It's everything is us. We are the conscious being. We are the sentient being. Object is not doing anything, but you devalue, or you get your Vishayas, your Vishaya means your organs, under the control of the mind, and the mind under the control of the intellect. So if you can do this, or if you can do that, Then Vishaya Vinivartan. Then what happens is Niraharasya, Dehinaha is the Jiva here. Dehinaha is the one who lives in the Dehi, in the Deha, sorry. Dehi is the one who lives in the Deha. Deha is body, Dehi is, so who is living in the body is actually Atma, but we don't know that. It is the Jiva Bhava that we talked about, the Jiva hood that we talked about in Vivek Chudamani. So that Jiva, Niraharasya. So Ahara is generally connected to food. We think Ahara is food, but Ahara, yes, it is food, but we have to understand that even the eyes are getting food, the nose is getting food, all the senses are getting food. So when this word is used in Vedantic terminology, Ahara, it means all the sense objects. So it means Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. All five are Ahara for the various senses. Ahara is intake, your day, but this ahara is for nutrition, food, actually literally for food. In Hindi or Marathi, what is your ahara? Ahara means, are you a vegetarian? They say, what ahara? Vegetarian ahara or non-vegetarian ahara, like that. But in Vedanta, ahara word always is used for the objects of all the senses. Okay, so Nira. So when you withdraw, when you make the Dehi Nirahara, means what? When you stop taking in the perceptions from outside, and the objects either, so the senses are withdrawn, and the senses withdraw either because of devaluation of object or because they want something higher. And now this Jiva has been made Nirahara, means no ahara is being fed to this Jiva. Means what? Means perceptions have been reduced. Okay, so then what happens is, yes, the objects will reduce, but that rasa, and rasa here in technical terms, rasa is at the level of the vasana. So what happens is, rasa is the taste. The taste lingers. Sometimes we eat something and then the taste lingers in our mouth and we're like, oh, now I don't want to eat anything else because I really like this lingering taste. But here this rasa is that is what lingering taste is, rasa. But in the case of senses and the sense objects, this rasa is at the level of the vasanas, and therefore it is not known. It is very subtle. So what happens is, as a seeker, we might think that we have devalued the object, or we have controlled the senses enough that we are not allowing the objects to come in. And allowing the objects means only perception, sense perception, not that the whole object is coming into me, that sense perception. But that vasana, it might remain at the level of the vasana. This is what Bhagavan is saying. And that final rasa, final vasana will go away. Param drushtva nivartate. Param, supreme. Excuse me. Param is supreme. Drushtva, having seen. Seen must not be taken by the eyes. I've explained this many times. Having known, having become the supreme reality, at that point, those vasanas, that rasa will go away. So as a seeker, we can practice controlling the senses. We can practice devaluing the objects. Both we can do. Practice. That's why I'm saying practice. Okay. And sometimes you want to let the mind go, let it go, because we are not at that stage. Remember that at the vasana level. So what will happen is, sometimes when you come in contact with some situation, object, person, whatever, that vasana might fructify and come at the level of the thought, at the level of the mind as a thought. It will become visible to you. In the level of the mind, it is visible. The thought has arisen. Then at that time, exercise your choice. You have a choice. That is the glory of being a human being. Humans have choices. Animals don't have choices. So at the level of the vasana, we have no choice. Why? I don't even know what my vasana is. So I have no choice. So don't even worry about it. Don't spend your time worrying what is in my vasana, what will come in the future. Don't worry. Don't worry. When it erupts as a thought, become aware of it. Immediately you become, okay, now this thought has come because of some vasana which I have brought from my previous births. Fine. What do I do with it? What do I do with it? Do I want to withdraw or do I want to execute? See, the beauty is that in both, you can exhaust that vasana. Okay. So if you withdraw, perfect. That is the correct thing. When there is a thought of indulgence, and I'm not talking of good thought, huh? Please. Okay. So no. Especially if you're thinking of donating, making a donation to the mission, please do not withdraw. If you're thinking of sending your child to one of our Bal Bihar, our grandchild, do not withdraw. Do not. Okay. But if there is a thought of indulgence, then you withdraw. By withdrawing and neutralizing that thought at the level of the mind, you have automatically neutralized the vasana. You have not created any new vasana. One. Okay. Because I only have given you the 80-20 rule, maybe you might say, no, but now this indulgence is falling in the 20%, 80% of the time I have withdrawn, now 20%. Okay, fine. Execute it, but do not long for it. Then you have also neutralized the vasana. So that is the beauty of it. So at the level of the thought, exercise choice. Should I withdraw? Should I indulge? Okay, withdraw, that's the best. If you can withdraw 100% of the time, nothing like it. Nothing like it. But I can't. So I cannot even ask you to try. I'm being very honest with you. I can't. So there's no way that I can, convince anybody else to do it. Okay, so if that indulgence is falling in the 20%, execute it, but never say, okay, when will it happen again? When will this party come again? When will I get to eat this again? When will I get to wear this again? All that spraha should be avoided. Spraha should be avoided. So if you avoid, because man of realization has no spraha. So you indulge, let go, enjoy the moment, enjoy whatever the time, let go. You have exhausted the vasana. And this is the way of not creating more vasanas for our future birth. Okay, because even when you keep doing good actions, remember they're creating, when you do them with doership, they're creating vasanas, and you will get a little bit higher birth, but there is a birth, and that's why Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, try to get rid of the birth only, whether good or bad. Try, just keep that as the goal. Okay, so this is what Bhagavan is saying, that this rasa, especially if you have withdrawn out of some majburi, like you like I said, like you're sick or you can't afford, then the rasa is, even the thought is not going to go away. It's only a temporary thing. Now I'm sick, so I can't eat, or I'm sick, I cannot go for a movie, or I cannot travel. So when the sickness goes away, then all these thoughts are going to come back. These desires are going to come back. Okay. All right, clear? This is how he sits. Now, the next one is a warning, a caution that Bhagavan gives. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha. The turbulent senses, O son of Kunti, do violently carry away the mind of a wise man, though he be striving to control them. So the senses are very turbulent. Do I have to tell anybody why or how? I think look at your own senses and you will know that sometimes you're very cool, like I've already told you. When something happens to somebody else, then very cool, I will give out Vedanta. Don't worry, it is not the body, and this. When it happens to me, suddenly, okay? So the senses are turbulent. That's the way they are made. You can't help them. Can't help them. That's how they are. Okay. Now, Kaunteya, O son of Kunti. Kunti, one of sharp, Kunta coming from Kunta, sharp intellect. So that's why this name is used here for Arjuna, son of Kunti. You are the son of a person who is of sharp intellect. So you also have a sharp intellect, because only the intellect can control the mind. See, the senses are so turbulent that they will pull the mind out. They have that much strength. Think about the horses of the chariot. If the horses go wild, what's going to happen to the chariot, right? So when the senses are turbulent, then the mind can't. But you are of sharp intellect. So you use your intellect to control the mind. That's why Kaunteya. Okay. Purushasya vipasya. Even he may be a wise man. What to talk of seekers like us? We are going to get pulled only into the world. This is even for them. Indriyani pramatini haranti prasabham manaha. So, like, you know, they give the example, previous Bhagavan gives the example of the boat. If the sails are damaged or something, you know, previously in those days, right, that boat will go haywire. You know, the now, or that little boat they used to have, if there is a sail there, if that sail is not proper, if it tears, the, you know, or whatever happens, damage, then the boat is going to go. So this is what Bhagavan is saying. The mind is, it will get dissipated with the senses, because now imagine the horses running in, because the eyes are running in a different direction, ears are running in a different, nose is running, all those 5 senses are running in different directions. There is only one mind. It's going to get dissipated, split. And what will happen when the mind dissipates? How can the human being perform? The mind is agitated, irritated, right? So it's like, you know, when you, suppose if you dream the whole night, sometimes not the whole night, but a lot of dreams if you have, then when you wake up also you're tired. You know, because the mind is running, right? In dream, the mind is very active. Subtle body is very active in the sleep state, deep sleep state. So if you're in deep sleep, then the mind is calm, because then the mind is also actually slept. But in the dream state, the mind has not slept. The mind is thinking, the mind is happy, sad, all kinds of emotions. So when you wake up, now in the waking state only, this mind is so active, so dissipated, right? How tired is it going to be? Now the question arises for us, for seekers. We're not ignorant people, don't know all this, and they think that is how it is. But we as seekers are now studying this. So how do I guard myself against the vagaries of the senses? This is the vagaries of the senses. Right? Senses are running amok. That's where the self-discipline comes in. Self-imposed self-discipline. I think I've mentioned this many times. This is where it is from. That these senses, why these senses are running amok, put them on a leash. And what is the leash? The leash is the discipline. I will get up at this time. So the eyes have no right to say, I want to sleep some more. The body has no right. Don't see, already we have seen devalue the senses, right? So if the mind says, I want to sleep, it's so cold and dark and raining outside, devalue. No, I don't care what you think. I need to go for a walk, and I have an umbrella and waterproof shoes. So I am going to get up now and go. And it has to be self-imposed, because if it is not self-imposed, you're likely to break it. You will break it. And sometimes you will have to break it because of illness of the body. That is allowed. If your body only is unable to do it because of whatever reason, that's different. But 90% of the time, our body is very healthy. It's only the mind that is telling us sleep in. Who cares? Forget the walk. Forget the run. Right? That should not be allowed. So that self-imposed self-discipline will guard against the vagaries of the senses. Because the senses have no choice. They have to get up, they have to get ready, they have to go for walk, they have to come back. Then you say, okay, at this time there is breakfast, at this time. How many people say, oh, I'm not hungry, I will eat later. That's what we learned in the ashram actually. That was a discipline that was given to us. 8 o'clock there was breakfast, 9 o'clock kitchen was closed. So if you want breakfast, you come. Then you can't go back there. 12:30 lunchtime, 2 o'clock and 12:30 to I think 1:30 was our brahmachari's time. We were the first ones to get food, and then the office staff would come at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock close. 2 o'clock everything was closed. That's it. Lights out, doors shut. All the cooks would go away. That means there's no food there. So we got into that and you know what? The stomach also gets into a discipline. Because I came back and I just kept on following that discipline. So this is how at that time my stomach feels hungry. And if it feels hungry at any other time, I know I'm not well. Then I know I'm not well. That it can't be like suddenly I can't feel hungry at this time. And I know that there's an imbalance in my body. So this is how you be aware of your body and you lay your own discipline. I'm not saying you should keep a discipline like we had in the ashram, but as per your schedule, as per your work schedule, you may be working night shift, you may be working day shift. I don't know. Some people now they're telling me they work on Eastern time, so they're up in the morning at 3:30. So whatever is your schedule, as per that, there has to be a discipline. And it is very, very individual. So there's not like, oh, she is doing this, so I should know. It can't work. It doesn't work like that. Okay, so you set a discipline for yourself for the whole day and see how your senses and your body will it'll fit into that groove. The mind will fit, the mind will know, the mind will only tell you, get up 5:30 now, go. You won't need an alarm. You won't need an alarm. I'm telling you that. Okay, that was one long time back. One of the Swamijis, I mean, the Acharyas, when my father was in the course, there was a competition. And he had, the topic was, how do I know I'm growing spiritually? So, you know, and then my father also had written an article and then he won the prize, whatever. But one of the things that he had said is that you should not need an alarm clock to wake up in the morning. If you can wake up without that alarm, you have grown spiritually because you have put your body, mind into that discipline. Just becoming self-disciplined is a growth in spirituality. Just self-discipline. That's one step ahead. You're one step ahead of the others. There are people say, oh, I feel like sleeping, so I just get up at whatever time, 7 o'clock, 8:30, whatever time. No. And even if you're retired and if you don't have to go to work, not that this is still you get up, decide, okay, I'll get up at 7 o'clock okay, then 7 o'clock you get up. 8 o'clock I'll have breakfast, I will have my shower, I will do my prayers, whatever suits you, you get into that the thing. Okay, so let's do one more. Tani sarvani sanyamya yuktasita matparaha vashehi yasendriyani tasya pradnya pratisthita. Having restrained them all, he should sit steadfast, intent on me. His wisdom is steady, whose senses are under control. So asita word has come here. Yukta asita. Kim asita was the question. How does he sit? So finally, Bhagwan gives his answer. The one who sits having withdrawn all his, not in Padmasan, Shirsasan, not those asanas, not that way, but one whose senses are constantly, Sarvasha, I told you, space-time objects. Without the barriers of these, when the senses are under control and his mind and senses are absolutely under the control of his intellect, sthita pradnya, tasya pradnya pratishtita, his intellect is pratishtita, again is the stha dhatu, it's fixed, prakarshena tishtati, pratishtita prakarshena tishtati, means very well established in who? In me. Not very well established in the world, M capital. And when he says me, in the self, technically the self, but this is Bhagwan himself speaking. So he will always say in me. So put your senses and mind in me. Keeping me as the goal, withdraw the senses. It'll be easier. Anytime there is a goal, you know, if there is an exam coming up for students, right? There is a deadline coming up when you're at work and there is a deadline given to you. Anytime that sort of a goal is there, you will automatically withdraw. You're like, no, I have a deadline. I need to do this. I need to do that. that way. This is how he sits. He sits. So we should also try to sit, control the mind and abide in him, in the self. Technically, it would be Atman or Brahman. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan will always say me, but when he says me, he's talking from the highest standpoint, not the form of Krishna. Please, not that. Okay. Are there any questions? The next two verses are very interesting. Any questions? Everybody is clear? Good. Okay. We'll read the next two verses and I will go over them, but the details we'll do them again next time. Dhyayato vishayan punsaha sangarsteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho vijayate krodhat bhavati sammohaha sammohat smriti vibhramaha smriti bhranshad buddhinasho buddhinashat pranashyati. From when a man thinks of objects, attachment for them arises. From attachment, desires are born. From desire arises anger. From anger comes delusion. From delusion, loss of memory. From loss of memory, the destruction of discrimination. From destruction of discrimination, he perishes. This is the famous ladder of fall from the Bhagavad Gita, these two verses. This is how a human being, a person falls. There's nothing to fear because the antidote has been given by Bhagavan Shankaracharya in Bhaja Govindam. Sat sangatve nissangatvam, nissangatvam nirmohatvam, nirmohatve, it goes, and then you go to the higher. So that is the antidote. What Bhagavan is saying here is, dhyayato dhyaya dhatu from it's called dhyayato is meditating. But here what is happening is the meditating is on vishayaha, and vishaya I told you is sense objects, or it can mean sense objects. So you can sense organs or objects. Here generally objects. So when a person meditate, what should the meditation be? It should be on the self, but now the person is meditating on the objects. And when you meditate, desires arise. I've told you this many times. You walk through a mall. It's not like every single object. There are millions of things in the mall. Not like there are a million desires arising in my mind. But there will be some trigger. And then what happens is I see that and I cannot forget it. It'll keep coming to my mind, keep coming to my mind. If I avoid that meditating, if I am capable of forgetting that, and I told you the means, devalue, do I really need this? Is this just a fancy? Is this really useful to me? Any method that will help you. Oh, I cannot afford it. Oh my God, that much I can get a ticket to India. Forget it. Whatever method that you can use, see, the end justifies the means. So, and these are not means that you're using externally, you're using these means on your own mind. So anything, no, I can't afford it. I want to go to India next year. Now I have to save my money. Forget it. Whatever. No, do I really need this? No, I have no space in the house. What am I going to get rid of? I have no space for this. What you use, whatever works for you. I have used all methods. And that way, don't meditate. But if that thing keeps coming back, that is what will give rise to desire. In Mahabharata, there is a famous dialogue in Yudhishthira's mouth. They put it. Yudhishthira says, I know, O desire, O kama, I know what your origin is, what your root is. And your root, your origin, your cause is sankalpa. Sankalpa is this dhyato here. Samyak kalpana. So why would I even meditate first? Even sankalpana, probably a little bit before this dhyayato, is because I have done shobhanadhyas. I have put the idea of beauty and happiness in that object. And I think that object is going to make me happy. I think that object is beautiful. So there is sankalpa. Then there is dhyaya, meditating on it constantly. And that meditation gives rise to desire. And desire has only two, this thing, either it will get fulfilled or it won't get fulfilled. So if it doesn't get fulfilled, goes to anger. I am angry. And if it gets fulfilled, it goes to greed. I got this one, now I want more. So both anger and greed, sangat sanjayate kama, kamat krodho vijayate. So here greed is not mentioned, but greed is also similar to krodha, anger. Both of them, even greed gives, what he's saying is krodhat bhavati sammoha. Delusion comes out of krodha, but delusion also comes out of greed. Because when there is that much greed in the person's mind, his mind is going to get polluted. Anger is also going to cloud his judgment. It's like clouds covering the sun. So the anger is covering the intellect. Greed also covers the intellect. It's exactly same. That's why it's not mentioned here. Only krodha is mentioned, because unfulfilled desires will give krodha, will give anger. But a fulfilled desire, because when we are reading, we'll say, yeah, but Bhagwan, my desires have always been fulfilled since childhood. So there is no desire that was not fulfilled. My parents were rich and they fulfilled everything. Okay, but then that's going to give you greed. And that is exactly same as anger. And both of them will give delusion. And in delusion, smriti vibhrama is very important. So what is meant by smriti, forgetfulness, you will lose your memory, means you know what is right. See, if you didn't even know what is right or wrong, there's no question of forgetting. That's why this smriti vibhrama is there. That memory, you studied, like we studied in class, we draw from the senses, we draw from desires. But when I go and my senses get turbulent, I forget what I have studied in class. So it's not that the person does not know, he knows, but he forgets, because the intellect gets clouded, memory gets clouded. Now, everything that has been learned and studied is forgotten. And smriti bhraushat buddhi nasha. Buddhi here is intellect. So that when the memory is gone, intellect is constantly functioning on the basis of memory. Intellect is dependent on memory. Now, see, suppose I see fire, and then my intellect will say, no, last time, not an adult, maybe a child, you can say, is it, oh, last time there was something like this, and I put my finger in, and then I got burnt. So now don't put your finger in there. So intellect is always basing its judgments on memory. That what has happened in my past, this happened, so I should not now indulge in this. So that's why intellect gets affected, because of smriti. Smriti gets affected. You forget. Your memory is not working as well. You've forgotten what you have studied. Intellect does, and that's it. If the intellect is gone, then buddhi nashat pranashati, there'll be destruction. So we will take up these verses a little bit more next time.